This car is absolutely junk at only 11 years old, and new cars are getting even worse. And today we're going to discuss why. Now, looking inside, this car is in great shape and is fully loaded with all the features that you'd want back in 2014. Moreover, this car has a supercharger on it. It's also all-wheel drive. It's got a dual clutch, continuously variable transmission, and it's a hybrid. What more could you want? Unfortunately, with most Nissans and many other brands out there, they're suffering from major failures that pretty much totals out the whole car. Now in this case, just like your nephew approaching their teenage years, the transmission on this one started jerking and slipping, and that pretty much totaled out the vehicle. Now there's a couple of different reasons why I think cars have been going more obsolete these days. Now the biggest of which is repairability. Gone are the days where you could just solder a joint and fix something. Instead of repairing it, we're now replacing parts. Now the thing is, replacements are becoming a lot more complicated because we got more parts in the way and things to take off. You're going to need special tools, especially if you got a European style car, and you're going to have to take it to the dealership to get it programmed after that. The parts that have been designed to fail tend to be the more expensive parts, and if you put a used part in there, and it's a common problem with that brand, you're just taking a big risk. Now we all know Nissan transmissions from this era are absolutely garbage, so we'll be tearing down this entire powertrain to see what's inside and what failed. Now if you think about it, it's probably a simple clutch pack or a solenoid that's the issue inside of here, but they don't sell extra parts to them. They want to sell you an entire brand new one, and that's where we kind of talk about repairability. Now getting this 4-banger out of that Pathfinder was actually pretty difficult because it's really tight up against the frame. I don't have a hoist, so you need those special tools, and DIYs like us can't really repair things like this anymore. Now the other thing is, labor is becoming way more expensive now because you've got skilled technicians that now have to go to school and learn how these computers work, because they're pretty much computers on wheels. Long gone are the days where a wrench represents a mechanic. Now it's a laptop. The old school mechanics are now leaving because screw the flat rate system, and the DIYs can't handle these repairs because you got to invest in proprietary tools, which the OEs are now locking you in, so you only go to their service center. Now one thing taken apart this vehicle is there's just sheer number of wires and connectors and clips that you have to undo in order to get this off properly. There's just so much in the way of doing the job that was much simpler many years ago. Powertrain also has a huge harness on it, but that's not to mention when you do swap this transmission out, you will need to reprogram it with proprietary dealer software that not even independent shops have access to. Now the one hope is that we can depend on the aftermarket to come out with fixes for these repairs so that they're much more cost effective, as they're not governed by the EPA. Now there's a huge debate on what kind of information comes through this OBD port and who has access to it, and then there's a huge right to repair movement, which is demanding the OEMs to give us the data that we need to repair our cars properly. More features also mean more parts. So for example, you wanted that 360 camera, well there's a camera hanging out behind the mirror here. Then your wife comes along and bangs that mirror out, and suddenly that $100 repair now becomes thousands of dollars because you've got a camera in there that has to be recalibrated. There's even things you don't think of, like this hood hinge here. These are pyrotechnic on new cars, and they actually pop up to bring the hood up a little bit to cushion the impact of a pedestrian so they don't die right away. Instead, they just get hurt. You can imagine these being really expensive to replace in a minor collision, just like an airbag would be. Now before you guys start typing stories about your 30-year Corollas lasting on one oil change and one gas tank for 300,000 kilometers, remember there's a vehicle for everybody out there. Otherwise, brands like Audi and BMW won't exist at all. But remember, reliability isn't on the top of everybody's list. If they got the money and they wanted to pay for it, they can get that car. The only thing is they can't participate in this discussion because they chose to live in that lifestyle. And then there's also environmental factors, which are kind of more political. That's that push towards zero emissions and EV vehicles, as well as higher safety standards. And these are really changing the way vehicles are designed today. And that's where we have this battery pack from the back of this Pathfinder. Now battery and hybrid technology does get expensive to engineer, manufacture, and for you as the consumer to replace, and it takes a while for that battery pack to pay off in fuel savings. So you got to consider the cost of replacing the battery before plunking down cash on one. Now if you've lived through the pandemic, you know that the mentality of car ownership's kind of changed a bit. If you live near public transit, you can just take that. Ride sharing has become extremely popular, and delivery services has become irreplaceable. You can pretty much live under a rock, have everything delivered to your house, and not even know how many wheels are on a car, and just work from home. Part of planned obsolescence is using cheaper components. I've already discussed in my last discussion video the use of plastics in our engine bay and how it's screwing us over, so make sure you check out that video. Oh yeah, and that is a smart car engine beside this one. Now in the end, I blame the consumer because they're the ones who are buying these fancy touchscreen computers on wheels without a volume button. So the next time you guys buy an SUV like this, because that's what everybody wants, you got to make sure you have the proper environmental factors factors with a hybrid system, but you also got to make sure it's got a proper supercharger on there, so when it winds up, it's going to overcome the whine of your kids in the third row seat. Now you tell me in the comments section down below, what do you think of the idea of disposable cars, and if our industry is moving towards like consumer electronics. We're just going to be littering our planet in the name of consumerism, using the environment as our excuse. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one.